Moscow, Russia. Ring ring. Phone ringing. YN immediately grabs her phone from the table and answers the call from her adoptive father. YN. Hello, father. It's me, says a man whose voice is definitely not her father's. YN pauses for a moment before speaking again. Oh, Kim Taehyung, what's up? Taehyung, why do you never pick up my calls? He asks in an irritated tone. YN, I've been busy. Taehyung chortles cynically. Busy. You pick up everyone else's calls but mine, and your excuse is that you're busy. YN lets out a long sigh. Why are you calling me? Taehyung, your mission is over, isn't it? Get back to Korea immediately, there's something I need to discuss with all of you in person. YN, fine, we'll head back to Korea as soon as possible. Taehyung, I'm waiting for you, Kim YN. YN, I have a few things to wrap up, I'm hanging up now. She says, cutting the line without waiting for a response from the man who is technically her adoptive brother. Yoongi, who was that? YN. YN, Taehyung, he told us to get back to Korea ASAP. Said there's something he needs to talk about in person. Seokjin, it's rare for you to actually answer Taehyung's call. Usually. YN, he used father's phone. Seokjin chuckles. Well, that explains it. Yoongi, how long are you going to keep avoiding him? YN, until my feelings for him are gone. Seokjin, that's never going to happen. You're part of Taehyung's family now, you're going to keep running into him constantly. YN, I know it's going to be hard, looking back and forth between Yoongi and Seokjin. Oppa duel, why did I have to develop feelings for him? And also, why don't I feel the same way about you guys as I do about Taehyung? I mean, you aren't my biological brothers either, but why don't I see the two of you as men, in that way? Yoongi, a small smile. YN, we grew up together since we were kids. We were raised in the same place and given love by the same orphanage mother. You know what? Rather than a younger sister, I think of you more like a daughter. Chuckles. Seokjin, a small smile. Yeah, exactly. We grew up together from the start, so it's only natural you see us as older brothers. Seokjin smiles softly, as if replaying a vivid memory. Back then at the orphanage, Yoongi and I were the oldest. The others were usually about 3 years younger than us. In all the years we lived there, we never saw the house mother bring in a baby. The kids who arrived were always older, around 6 years old. Then one day, she brought you. We were absolutely amazed, seeing this tiny, chubby baby with the most adorable rosy cheeks. I also remember so clearly the first time you could talk. You called Yoongi, Oppa, but me. You actually called me, Appa. He says with a light laugh. YN smiles warmly at her brother's story. Her gaze softens, filled with an unspoken sense of gratitude. YN, thank you. I'm truly lucky to have you guys. If I had never met you, I don't know what my life would be like right now, she says softly. Choi YN, a beautiful 23-year-old woman. At her age, she should be living a peaceful and simple life. However, a decision she made years ago changed everything. She grew into a cold and intimidating figure, always walking among the shadows of danger, as if her life could never escape the threat of violence. Three days later, Daegu, KST. Kim family mansion. Abhyanam. Min Yoongi and Kim Seokjin's voices ring out almost in unison. The middle-aged man, who was engrossed in his newspaper, slowly looks up. Instantly, his eyes light up seeing his two adoptive sons have returned safely. He quickly stands up and approaches them. Mr. Kim, Yoongi, Seokjin, he says emotionally, then hugs them both tightly. Yoongi and Seokjin, Abhyanam, we succeeded, they reply together, returning the warm embrace. A proud smile etches onto Mr. Kim's face. I already knew, you boys are amazing. So, where is YN? The voice of a handsome man with the surname Kim breaks the atmosphere, making all three turn toward him at once. Mr. Kim. Ah, right, where is my daughter? Mr. Kim asks, now looking around for her. I'm right here, Appa. A soft voice comes from the doorway. YN slowly emerges from behind it. Mr. Kim's face instantly beams. He starts to step forward to hug his daughter. However, before he can, his biological son pushes past and pulls YN into a crushing hug, as if he doesn't want to let her go for a single second. Kim Taehyung, why did it take you so long to get home? Didn't I tell you to come back quickly? Choi YN lets out a soft sigh. You're being dramatic, Tae, we got back to Korea only 3 days after you told us to come home. YN then forcefully pushes Taehyung away. Let go, I want to hug Appa. Taehyung scoffs in annoyance, his hand reaching out again to pull her back. Hey, you. But before he can, Min Yoongi swiftly catches his arm. Yoongi, hey, Kim Taehyung, he says flatly, dripping with sarcasm. We were the ones who entered the mansion first. We were the first people you saw. Yoongi narrows his eyes, giving Taehyung a pointed look. But why did you greet YN first? Taehyung shrugs casually, not looking guilty in the slightest. Well, I'll do whatever I want, hung. Seokjin glares at him, frustration clear on his face. Unbelievable, this kid. The living room of the Kim mansion erupts into a loud argument. Seokjin, Yoongi, and Taehyung refuse to back down, throwing sharp, childish barbs at one another. Meanwhile, Mr. Kim and Choi YN can only shake their heads at their antics. If an outsider witnessed this, they would never believe these three men were cold-blooded figures known for being ruthless. That was the typical atmosphere at the Kim mansion. Ever since Mr. Kim brought home 3 small children, Seokjin, Yoongi, and YN, who have now grown into handsome men and a beautiful woman, the house has felt much warmer, filled with laughter, bickering, and an unbreakable bond. Seokjin, Yoongi, and YN were all orphans raised in the same institution. For years, none of them were adopted. Not because no one wanted them, but because they refused to be separated. They promised to always stay together, no matter what. As they grew up, they chose to leave the orphanage and try to survive on their own. However, reality was much harsher than they imagined. For over 2 months, they lived as vagrants, struggling just to find a spoonful of food. Those days were bitter and painful. Until finally, fate brought them to Kim Tae-jun, a high-ranking mafia official known for being ruthless, yet possessing a soft side rarely seen, especially toward YN. The meeting happened unexpectedly. While Seokjin and Yoongi went to look for food, YN waited in a narrow alley. Her small body was trembling, tears wouldn't stop flowing, and her hands clutched her stomach, which was cramping from hunger. She hadn't eaten in an entire day. At the same time, Mr. Kim and his men were searching for someone who had caused a riot at one of his weapons factories nearby. Once his business was settled, he intended to return home. But he stopped when he heard faint crying. Curiosity led him to the source, until he found YN, a little girl crying all alone in the corner of the alley. Despite his reputation for cruelty, Mr. Kim's heart was touched. He held a deep respect for women, largely due to the memory of his late mother and wife. Without hesitation, he decided to take YN with him. However, the little girl refused. She wouldn't go without Yoongi and Seokjin. Mr. Kim promised that her brothers would come too. And sure enough, when Seokjin and Yoongi returned, Mr. Kim took all 3 of them. From that moment on, he raised them as his own. At the time, Taehyung, who was only 16, witnessed their arrival. The look in his eyes clearly showed his dislike, especially toward the newcomers. But as time passed, Taehyung slowly began to accept them, until finally, an inseparable bond was formed. The 4 of them grew up together under one roof, raised with love, but also with iron discipline. One day, Mr. Kim offered them the chance to enter the mafia world. Initially, they were hesitant, it was a dangerous path. But in the end, they accepted. From then on, they were forged relentlessly, learning to shoot, mastering martial arts, computer systems, and various languages. Now, they were no longer the weak children who once survived on the streets. They had transformed into strong, dangerous, and respected figures. After spending enough time catching up with her father, Choi Yen finally heads to her room. She wants to clean up and get ready for dinner, and to hear what Kim Taehyung wants to talk about. Her steps stop in front of the closet. She lets out a long sigh looking at the rows of clothes dominated by black and white. Yen, I think you should leave this kind of world behind, and start living life like a normal young woman. She smiles thinly, imagining something that feels foreign to her. Maybe wearing pink clothes, or sky blue, then going on dates with handsome guys out there. A small laugh escapes her lips. Ah, sounds ridiculous, but I want to try it. Unfortunately, I won't let you try it. In's body instantly tenses. She is startled when someone suddenly hugs her from behind. Yen, Kim Taehyung. Taehyung leans down, casually kissing the crook of her neck as if it's the most natural thing in the world. You want to leave your world, just to go on dates with guys out there, Yen. Hey, I deserve a normal life, too. That's my right. You can't forbid me, Kim Taehyung. Taehyung simply gives a faint smile. He moves closer, inhaling the scent of In's neck as if it's an addiction. I have a right to you, Yen. The world you want isn't as sweet as you imagine, and it doesn't suit you at all. In's eyes sharpen, her voice turning cold. You are nobody to me. You have no rights over me whatsoever. Taehyung chuckles softly. Father adopted you. That means you are my sister, and I am your brother. So, of course, I have rights. Those words make Yen go silent. She closes her eyes, her hands balled into tight fists. But I have never thought of you as a brother. If you don't want me to see you as a man, then stop doing things that make me see you as more than just a brother. However, Yen only dares to say all of that in her heart. Yen, fine, she says finally, flatly. In that case, get out now. I want to change my clothes. Taehyung nods and then kisses In's shoulder, neck, cheek, and hair. Don't be too long, okay. Yen only nods slowly. Shortly after, Taehyung leaves her alone in the room. Silence once again envelops the space. Yen stares at her reflection in the mirror, then gives a thin, ironic smile. You call me your sister, but the way you treat me is so excessive. There's no sibling in the world this affectionate, Kim Taehyung, she says under her breath.